In the heart of Tokyo, among the crowded streets and restless lights, there lives a quiet observer, a storyteller named Miho Ichiki. Her journey is not one written in fame or luxury, but in silence, reflection, and a deep love for the human experience. This is not the story of a celebrity. It is the story of a soul who learned to see the extraordinary in the ordinary and in doing so, found her place in the world. Miho Ichiki was born in 1992, in a small apartment not far from Shinjuku. Her parents owned a modest bookstore, where the smell of paper and ink shaped her earliest memories. While other children spent afternoons playing outside, Miho sat in the quiet aisles, turning pages, listening to the soft rhythm of rain tapping against the windows. She didn't yet know it, but she was already beginning her lifelong search for meaning not in words, but in feelings. At 14, Miho discovered an old film camera at a flea market. It was scratched, heavy, and slightly broken, but it worked just enough for her to take pictures. Her first photo was of a stray cat sleeping under a vending machine. Her second, a reflection of her own face in the glass of a train window. From that moment, she was hooked. Photography became her language, a way to speak when words fell short. As she grew older, Tokyo's pace began to suffocate her. Everywhere she looked, people were running, chasing deadlines, dreams, and definitions of success that never seemed to end. Miho tried to fit into that rhythm, attending design school and taking small jobs in advertising, but she felt disconnected. Her art teachers encouraged her to make work that would sell. But Miho didn't want to sell. She wanted to feel. After one particularly harsh critique, she packed her camera, left school, and took a train to Kyoto with no plan, only a notebook and a belief that the world had something to teach her. In Kyoto's quiet streets, she began to notice details she had never seen before: the way sunlight touched temple roofs, how people bowed to each other with genuine respect, how time seemed slower. She began to take photographs again, not for a portfolio, not for approval, but for herself. But starting over wasn't easy. She faced rejection after rejection. Her first gallery submission was turned down with a note that said simply, "Too quiet. Not commercial." That hurt. For months, she doubted herself. Maybe her art was too quiet. Maybe her voice didn't belong in a world that rewarded noise. Yet, even in those lonely nights, something inside her refused to stop. She said later, "The silence hurt, but it also taught me to listen not." Her idea was simple: to take portraits of strangers and pair each with a short piece of writing about their lives. She approached people in train stations, cafes, and parks. A mother waiting for her son after school. A student lost in thought. An elderly man feeding pigeons every morning at the same bench. Through her lens, these small moments became monumental. Slowly, her work began to spread online. People shared her photos, drawn to their honesty. Her portraits didn't glamorize, they humanized. Viewers felt seen, connected, and understood. Miho was telling their stories, but she was also telling her own quietly, humbly, one frame at a time. In 2017, she held her first solo exhibition in a tiny gallery in Shinjuku. There were no fancy lights or sponsors, just her photos printed on simple paper, hung with clips on white walls. Visitors stood in silence, some even crying. A journalist later wrote, "Miho Ichiki doesn't show us the world as it is, she shows us how it feels." Her success didn't come in waves, but in ripples. She was invited to share her work in Seoul, Paris, and New York, yet she never lost her grounding. She still traveled with her old camera, still took buses instead of taxis, still wrote notes by hand in her notebook. To her, the journey mattered more than the destination. While abroad, Miho began to focus on the theme of connection, how people from different places experienced the same emotions: joy, loss, longing, hope. Her photos became mirrors for humanity. In one, a child in Paris plays with bubbles. In another, a grandmother in Seoul laughs as her grandson tugs her sleeve. Across cultures, her lens found the same truth, that beneath all our differences, we are more alike than we think. Her projects began to reach global audiences. In interviews, she spoke softly about her process. I don't take photos to impress. I take them to remember. I want people to pause just for a moment and feel something real. Back home in Tokyo, Miho began teaching workshops to young artists. She told her students that creativity isn't about talent, it's about courage. Courage to start when you don't feel ready. Courage to fail without giving up. And courage to create something honest, even if no one understands it at first. She reminded them, art is not about being loud. It's about being true. In 2020, during the long months of isolation, Miho began a new project called Windows of Light. Each day, she photographed a single window from a different part of the city, showing how light entered each space, each life, differently. The series became a symbol of hope, proof that even in isolation, we were connected by something universal, light itself. About slowing down long enough to see the world and yourself more clearly. Today, her photographs are exhibited around the world. But she still lives simply, in a small apartment overlooking a park. She still wakes up early, makes tea, writes for an hour, and then walks the city with her camera. To her, that routine is not discipline, it's devotion. A daily act of paying attention to life. When asked what keeps her going, she says, because in a world obsessed with speed, she reminds us of the beauty of slowness. In a culture chasing perfection, she celebrates imperfection. And in a time of constant noise, she teaches the power of silence. Her life is proof that you don't need to be the loudest to be heard. You just need to be honest and consistent. So as this story ends, maybe it's not an ending at all. Maybe it's a beginning for anyone watching, anyone listening, anyone still searching. Because Miho Ichiki's journey is a mirror of our own. We all stumble. We all doubt. But if we keep going, keep creating, keep believing that our small stories matter, we, too, can find our light. And that is what Miho Ichiki's 10-minute journey teaches us, that the real destination is not somewhere out there, it's within.